We started about 25 years ago. So there is certainly a serviced apartment sector in Brussels, mainly due to, of course, European institutions, NATO, and things like that. In numbers, I think we're about around 6,000 units in total in Brussels for the moment. Ghent, Antwerp, Leuven, you have small players, all players with around 20, 30 units, so no big players. We focus mainly on corporate business, so let's say 98% of our business is B2B. We're not really interested in leisure. It's the European Union, it's NATO for sure, but also all bigger companies, also smaller companies. It's really, Brussels is an attractive city for business people, in fact, due or thanks to European institutions and NATO, of course. In fact, there's a new law which defines every visitor of Brussels as a tourist. If he's not staying for a longer period than 90 days, is considered to be a tourist. And if you house tourists, you need to be recognized as a tourist housing. And that's a problem for the moment, because most of the residential apartments cannot be recognized as tourist housing. And so it's a bit a pity that they didn't look at the business side of the story. They took every visitor as a tourist, and now we're involved in the leisure market without ever being there. Yeah, mainly it's a response to Airbnb. Yeah, so they have been a disruptor, but it was disruptive in that way that they woke up the government, in fact. I don't know. We're not really represented in Brussels or in Belgium. It's not like here with A-Stop, for instance. You have a real representation that can go talk with government and things like that. In Brussels it didn't exist. It's slightly starting to exist, but it will take some time, I think, before we will be able to rent out again for shorter periods than 90 days. We always had longer average stays than our colleagues, like for example in UK. Our average stay was always around 4 or 5 months. But before, we had a lot of people who were not sure how long they needed to be in Brussels, so they took a 1 month agreement, for instance, and then they extended. And now they need to start with a 3 month agreement, which makes it a little bit more difficult, of course.